Welcome back to Lil Troyer Farm. In an attempt to get this chaotic pen ready for the newcomers, I did try to get things fixed up and cleaned out, but I didn't quite manage to get everything cleaned out. I scooped out a little bit, and yes, I should have put the bucket on the tractor, but for various reasons, I did not get the whole job finished, and so I had to leave it sit. We had all 27 of our hay bales show up the day before I headed off to southern Alberta for the goat show, and it dumped rain on us and hail, and I decided that I would stick it out inside the house and let the men be outside in the pouring rain and hailstorm that we had as my husband was trying to unload the hay truck. For those of you who remember last year's predicament with hay, yes, it was a year of drought, and it was so incredibly difficult for us to find hay to feed our horses and goats last year. And so this year, to have all of our hay in our yard by the end of July is such an amazing feeling. I am incredibly thankful that we do not have to scramble and worry about having enough feed for our animals. And yes, over and over again, so thankful. It is still another year of intense lack of feed. Hay crops in some areas were even worse than last year. And so, no, we're not out of the woods yet. I have had people contact me, hey, do you know where I can find feed? Because I don't have enough for my animals. Please help. Do you know of anybody? And I'm like, I'm sorry, we barely got the bales that we got. And we got them because we knew the right people and the right contacts. But even those people have completely sold out of hay bales. And yes, we paid them at a premium. The evening before I left, Stan was gracious enough to put a door with hinges on my little crate to make it easier to get animals in and out. And then the next morning, I hit the highway and headed for southern Alberta for the West National Canadian Goat Show. I left behind the chaos of a yard full of 27 bales that were not stacked. I left behind a goat pen that was not even fully ready for me to bring my new goats home. And I was just counting on the fact that my husband would be able to throw something quick together to close off that one end that I tore apart, and that we would just kind of fix the rest later. And maybe that sounds irresponsible to some of you, but sometimes that's just how life goes, and we just embrace the chaos. When I left this morning, it was like 7:40 a.m., which was not crazy early, but I didn't stop in town, and I didn't stop in Dawson to get a coffee. And I'm starting to hit the point where I'm starting to feel really, not overly sleepy, but I'm tired, and it's like overcast, and I'm heading into some rain, I think. And I'm starting to feel it. So I'm pumping the music, but I'm just pulling into Valley View, and thankfully there's a Tim Hortons. So I'm going to stop and treat myself to an ice cap, and then we are just going to keep moseying on the rest of the way. And then I think probably I will get fuel at the next stop, perhaps. Either I'll get some fuel here or I'll get some fuel at the next town. I got like 400 kilometers to empty, just over a quarter tank.
I can't believe someone like me is here with somebody like you. There's something about you and I know why. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Hi, can I have a medium ice cap made with oat milk?
It's high and low and in between. And I am glad to let you know, but only if you can.
Got my ice cap, cheers. And I brought my own plastic straws, because you know how nasty it is when the paper straws get all crumbly? That's so delicious.
When I see you dance, spin my world around and around. Ooh, I know that you're worth it. Ooh, 'cause girl, you're perfect, amazing. That I'm kissing you, it's not what you expect from someone so perfect.
45 minutes and I'm getting sore and tired of sitting. I'm kind of mentally a little bit bored because I love to talk and I love to like verbally process, and I don't have boxes in my brain where I just sit and think about nothing. And so my brain goes and goes and goes and thinks about all the different things, and I'm thinking about the goats I'm bringing home and thinking about the goats that I wish I was bringing home, and trying to think about finances and like how I can, just ultimately help add some income into the mix to be able to lighten the load a little bit. Because as most people will probably tell you, hobbies are not cheap, and that kind of just goes for any hobby really. But goats, definitely, they're not the cheapest hobby to have, unless you're just kind of going for just whatever cheap goat that you can get your hands on. And horses are definitely not cheap either. So our feed bill for the winter is quite a good chunk of change, and most of it, more than half of the feed bill, is just for feeding horses, because naturally a 1,200 pound horse is going to eat a lot more in a winter than a goat will. So I can feed like my whole herd of goats for less than half of what I can feed for 5 horses. So it's a little bit challenging to every year have the feed bill roll around, but it also means that we have to be very, very careful about what kind of animals we're feeding. Namely horses. There's a reason why we cut down our herd size in half, and honestly sometimes we even consider cutting down more, because they're so astronomically expensive to feed. Just one horse without any other nutritional needs like grain and soaked feed and all of that is at a minimum between $500 and $700 for a winter to feed them hay. And so that adds up when you've got, several horses that you're feeding. And that's also why we haven't brought anybody else in to the farm as far as the horses go, just because the cost to buy horses is high, and the cost to maintain and feed horses is also very high. So as much as I love and adore horses, it is a very, very expensive hobby that does not bring in really any income for us unless we buy and sell. So purchase a horse, train it, a few months later sell them with kind of a started training background. And I don't love doing that. I don't have enough time to be able to do that. And so the goats are kind of a unique way for me to be doing what I'm passionate about, to be able to raise our kids around livestock and animals, to learn that responsibility and animal husbandry and the care for them. And it also brings in a little bit of income is the goal. This year I did not sell very many kids because I had a bunch of bucklings. And when you're starting out as a breeder, you kind of have to eat the losses for the first few years until your genetics and your lines actually start getting traction. You start doing your milk testing, your linear appraisals, and your classification, as well as start bringing your stock to shows to get your name out there. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is building connections with the people that are valuable breeders in the Western Canada region, and just trying to get some of those names into my herd as well, so that, when people are looking to purchase, I have genetics that are well known, or they're from well known and respected and trusted breeders. So that's exciting to me, to be able to have those lines in my herd. And some of the new additions I'm really, really excited to have in my herd. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we can grow with that. Being in rural BC, northern BC, there's a lot fewer registered breeders up there, and so it can be tricky to sell registered animals because there's less of a market for them up there. And so that's where the willingness to travel and transport comes into play, where I would love to be able to, load up 4 kids or 6 kids and do a trek, whether that's 1,500 kilometers or 2,000 kilometers, to be able to drop off kids free of charge. Kind of helps you to be able to work it out for selling those kids elsewhere. The travel is what gets people, right? I mean, I've made this trip now 3 times. Once right after Christmas, and then once end of March, and now this is my third trip down to here, southern Alberta. And so, yeah, it's a lot of driving, but it also gets me out and away from the farm and away from home, and I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing new countryside. I enjoy seeing new towns, and so it kind of gives me like little trips to look forward to where I get to get away, and it's usually pretty fast and long days of driving, but I don't know, it's fun and I enjoy it and I think it's worth it. I saw this as I was driving and I just had to take a video. If you're redneck, then you know exactly what this is. For the rest of you that don't know what it is,
Guys,
I'm sorry.
we made it! Look at this. This place is huge. It's a huge barn. I'm gonna go just right in the front, I suppose, and then figure out where to go after that.
The facilities here were actually quite amazing. I liked having, a full length mirror to make sure I didn't look like a complete hobo. And the barns were pretty nice. The show ring, where it was like basically a big indoor arena, this building here was beautiful on the inside. The stalls where the goats were held were just like horse stalls, and of course, horses dig holes, and so it was a little bit um not level flooring where the horses had dug holes into the dirt, and so it was a little bit awkward for us to try to set up any kind of stands in there and have them level. But that night I helped my friend out with giving all of her does baths inside the barn with some nice warm soapy water. This girl here, you got to pay attention to her. Her name is Duchess, and just pay attention to her, okay? The rest of them were just so sweet. This doe here with like the skir, that's a Nubian. She was actually the dam to Winnie, the doe that I actually sold this spring just because she did not fit in our program due to an underbite. But it was just so much fun to see the little babies and see her setup, see her milk machine, and just talk to people who knew what they were doing. This hay, fourth cut alfalfa. I have never even heard of fourth cut alfalfa. It was so rich. Look at these earless goats. They're so cute. And this guy, we'll talk about him a little bit later, but he's coming home with us. The little kid pile. So these were basically her youngest kids that she brought to the show just because they needed milk still. And those were her two big January born La Manchas. And then this little cream colored one there, yeah, we'll talk about her later too. So I was just kind of a helping hand. Whatever was needed, I tried to show up and be there for it. If the does needed more feed, more hay, I would run out to her trailer and grab some more hay, and then, yeah, just kind of fill in as needed and where I was told to be. Other than that, it was just kind of a, yeah, experience it without having my own goats in the show string for this year. And it was such a fantastic way to learn, like, what kind of supplies do you need to bring? What should you be prepared for? And so, kind of mentally writing a list of all the supplies that I would need to pack for next year, potentially bringing my own goats to the show. The show started early Saturday morning, of course, with the Nigerians. And so I kind of watched because, of course, Nigerians hold a special place in my heart, these little dwarf goats. And it was really amazing to see some of the caliber of does here that are being bred in Western Canada was really exciting to see. And even to take a look at does that I actually was interested in potentially purchasing and bringing them home. However, after working all Friday evening with the La Mancha and Nubian does, watching these little dwarf goats walk into the ring, I kind of had this weird, uneasy feeling wash over me of like, do I really want to get back into that? Like, they're beautiful, don't get me wrong, and I love their spunky little personalities, but do I actually want to get back into raising Nigerian dwarves? Or do I want to focus on the different breeds that really, really light me up and are make me just really, really passionate about raising them and also bettering the breed? This was the senior Nubian kid class. Again, super fascinating to watch the judge stack everybody up against each other. This ring, I did help another breeder out with actually showing, which was a whole learning curve for me just because I had only ever shown beef cattle in the past. And so this cream colored white doe here, fourth from the end, is the one that I am leading, and I actually purchased her full littermate sister. So she's a dry yearling. This is a dry yearling Nubian class. And so it was just really cool to be a part of this and to help out to learn, the ins and outs of showing and how to be a good showman as well is so important when you're showcasing these does. Saturday was West Nationals. So this was just a one ring national show with one judge who is used to judging ADGA, so ADGA shows down in the United States. There you can see me here. I had a wonderful friend who was videoing for me, and she did a phenomenal job just adjusting the look here. So we're trying to square up the animals so that they look their best. I am squaring up the front feet and then making sure the back legs are squared up. And then even if you just tickle their back, it can help them to stand more level. And so this doe actually stood fairly well. I showed a couple other ones that were really quite awful to show, to be honest. So here the judge is just giving her a feel, checking teats because they're dry. There's not a ton you can check with the mammary system. But anytime the judge does anything with your goat, you want to make sure that they're set up properly again. And again, I'm not perfect with this. I'm still learning the tricks of the trade of how to set them up properly. But he goes through all of the animals. He checks their rib spacing, he checks their shoulders, he checks their teeth, their back legs, that sort of thing. And then he watches them walk. So, walking when an animal's on the move, unless of course they're not cooperating well, and this is where training with leading comes into play, your animal's going to look the best with their head held high and walking out properly. So, that gives him an idea of how they move and just their length of body, all of that sort of structural stuff. Here he has us lead them straight at him so he can check kind of their chest width, that sort of thing. And yeah, just all of these pieces help him to make the best decision possible in the class. From this point, he starts pulling out the best ones, and you can see that my doe got pulled out as well. And so then we kind of line up in order that he sends us out, and then he kind of chooses the bottom of the class, so to speak. And then from there, he does a little bit of juggling and rearranging if he feels like it's necessary. It's just cool to watch how he kind of puts the pieces together. And so now he's looking at the rear and checking kind of their rump, their width between their hocks, the straightness of their legs, that sort of thing. Again, I am no expert, so if anybody's like a judge in the comments, please let me know if I have got this all wrong. But from kind of the pieces that I learned over the weekend, those are kind of the basics of what he's checking and looking for those of you who maybe know zero about the goat show world. Something I also learned over the weekend and to keep in mind is that every judge is going to have a slightly different opinion. So it's not uncommon for them to all pick the same, like, first, second, third place at times. However, sometimes you'll even have a judge who really, really likes a doe or two, and then in the next class with a different judge, those same does sometimes actually end up further back in the pack. Like these, where he's placing them, the bottom two does are actually not horrible does. Like, I know both of these ladies, both of these breeders, and like, they're not horrific does, but you have to keep in mind that maybe they just didn't stack up to the best of the does in the class. So at this point, he's again looking through the order of the dry yearlings that he placed, and here he actually shows them that they need to switch or change the placement. So he kind of pulls and rearranges a little bit because here now he's looking at side profile and looking how they are standing, their top line, their shoulders, their rumps, all of that. Decisions are not based off of just one view. It's based off of multiple parts and pieces, and so that's what he's trying to keep in mind. I do not envy him. This was a big class. I'm like, I can't imagine trying to place these goats in order of like the best to the lowest of the class. And so here he's kind of just taking a peek at rear, and he does some rearranging again. He bumps up the one doe and bumps back the other.
All right, a large class of Nubian dry yearlings, and it took some time to work through a few things because there's all sorts of different styles and pieces and parts out here, but at the end of the day, they're all Nubian, so that's what we care about. But this first place doe really came to the top. I think that she's the most balanced of all the animals out here. She not only combines the length and levelness of back and top line with the dariness, but she also has the width and strength and power to go with it as well. Specifically over two, she excels in rear leg angulation, particularly in the area of the stifle and hop. She's also a doe that has more strength and substance of bone. And when you look at her from behind, she has the highest and widest escutcheon comparatively to two. To the number three, it's dariness. She's longer in her neck, she's leaner and sharper throughout. She has more flatness of bone, more looseness and pliability of skin. In general appearance, she has a longer bone pattern throughout. She's longer from neck down into shoulder. She's longer from the chine. She's longer in the middle. And when we look at her, she's just a touch stronger on those rear passes today than we see in three. Three over four, so much more smoothly blended from front to rear, but especially from neck down into shoulder, and then more correct in the angle and usage of the rear legs, yielding a little bit to the length of passer in four. Four then over five, she's more naturally level, especially in the area of the rump, with more flatness from throat to throat, less prominence of dorsal process. Additionally, though, her dariness has more flatness of bone, more looseness and pliability of skin, more sharpness and femininity throughout when we see in five. Five over six, it's a body capacity advantage. She's wider in the chest floor, deeper in the heart growth, carries more depth into the rear belly. And then in dariness now, in her turn, she's sharper, has more flatness of bone, more depth and spring of width than six. 6 over 7 for the advantage that she has now in her turn in length of body. Her neck, she's more feminine about the throat. She's more clear from her next forces right behind the elbow and the shoulder, a little higher in her arch. So we started here with a pair of 2-year-olds, really strong and tight individuals. We can see the length of back, the strength of back, the width that they have. Beautiful sharpness and dariness, beautiful mammary systems on them as well. Then we worked our way up to the next class.
Back to the Nubians here. I am the third in line, just coming into the class, leading a first freshener 2-year-old. And this doe was actually almost for sale. She offered it to me, and I did do a lot of serious thinking about whether or not I wanted to purchase her. But if you see her walk around the ring, as she walks, her top line doesn't really level out. She's kind of got a bit of a rise up at that hip, that rump, and what we're looking for is to be more uphill. By that we mean we want the withers to be the highest point and for their back and rump to slope off of that. The method to the madness is pretty much the same. He gives everybody a feel over and checks their udder. So in this class, with checking the mammary system, he's checking for udder texture as well. So just to see how, I guess, their dairy strength overall, how soft their udder is. We definitely all laughed and joked a little bit because we always said, yeah, you know, when the Nubians are in the barn, because all of a sudden it erupts with Nubians bawling and yelling and screaming. And I tell you, when the La Manchas were in the barn, it was quiet and calm. That breed seems to be very, very calm and a lot more quiet. Most of the time, the La Manchas that were in the ring were chewing their cud and pretty much falling asleep while standing absolutely perfectly. The Nubians gave us a lot more trouble, and of course, overall, they were just very, very loud. This was a smaller class, and so I think it makes the judge's job a little bit easier because he only has to compare like 6 instead of 16 together. And so it makes for faster classes just because it's obviously less does to sort through. Now he's pulling out the winners of the class. So here, this doe was first, and she is a stunning first freshener doe. If I could get my hands on a kid out of her, it would be incredible. Just you put your hands on this doe, and her wither is nice and sharp. Those shoulders are nice and tight. Her rump angle is beautiful. She stands just so relaxed and perfectly squared up most of the time. And her teat placement is lovely. Her udder, it comes up nice and high and wide. And this is actually the breeder where I purchased my other buck from.
Easily in my mind, just an easy top here. She excels the balance of the class in general appearance, the strength that she has across the back and feet and legs, the straightness of forelegs, the most correct rear leg angulation and usage, the ease of motion around the mammary system, In mammary system, she has the most correct mammary system. It is not the most productive. That's on our third place doe, but it's the most correct mammary system with its overall area of attachment, shape and dimension, the length and stretch of the foreudder, and the height and width of rear udder. Then 2 over 3, this is a closer placing, certainly yielding to that tremendous body capacity and tremendous capacity to the mammary system, but she's so much more correct in her general appearance, the way that she moves, she's more natural uphill, more upstanding in the front end assembly, a doe that's stronger on all 4 pasterns today, more correctly angulated rear legs, and more ease of motion around the capacity in the mammary system. Like I said, she does yield to all of that capacity of mammary system and body that we see in 3. Now it is her body capacity, the depth of body, depth of rear barrel, and now also the capacity of the mammary system that carries 3 over the balance of the class, certainly. 4 then over 5 in the
This class was the 3 to 5-year-old milking yearlings, I believe. The doe that I'm leading here, this black one, is actually the dam to the buckling that I just purchased from this breeder. So she needed help showing, and so I did my best. I'm probably not the best showman, but I did my best. Now this doe that just walked into the screen from the right side, she is actually the dam to a doeling that I also purchased. So an exciting class because there's just so many beautiful does. This lady with the collar hanging out of her back pocket, that doe is a half sister to Sage, the doe that I have. Just a beautiful, beautiful, stunning, well balanced doe, and also happens to be the half sister to one of the ones that I bought this weekend as well. I know I'm talking fast and there's a lot going on, but it's just hard to point all of these does out. So anyway, the one that's being pulled into third place, that's the half sister to Sage, the doe that I have. So they share the same sire. And then a doeling that I picked up this weekend also shares the same sire. Now this doe pulling into fourth, this is owned by my mentor breeder slash friend that I was helping out this weekend. Absolutely loved watching her animals in the ring. She stacked up very, very well. And to be honest, some of her best does were still at home. Okay, this doe that's just pulling in here, the lady with the phone in the back pocket, that is the dam to the doeling that I also picked up this weekend. The dam to the buckling that I purchased did not do overly well. She's a little bit higher in the rump again, and whether or not she's walking like that because she's a little bit uncomfortable because her udder is very full or what have you, I still think this is a very impressive doe. And see, you can see the judge here just switched places with us, and so I'm pulling up behind the doe that is the dam, the mother of the doeling that I just purchased this weekend as well. I know, I hope that you're not confused. There's a lot of animals here, a lot of really beautiful does. But this doe that is the mama to the buckling that I bought this weekend, she did not do overly well in this class, but that's okay. That is the judge's opinion. That is how she looked on that day. And I will tell you that on Sunday, the next day, there was 2 other rings with 2 other judges, and she actually placed quite a bit better, quite a bit higher in the classes. And so again, it's sometimes is the judge's perspective on that day.
In particular, this third place doe doesn't quite excel in dairyness like the 2 ahead of her. She's strong enough in that area and strong enough in the mammary system to get right up here in the front of the line, but the 2 does ahead of her are certainly more dairy, more feminine today, a little sharper, a little longer in their design and the way that they're made. But I definitely want to highlight that I recognize this is the best udder in the class on the third place doe. When we look beyond that, now this is a first place doe. She excels the second place doe and the third place doe, again in that length, the stretch, the style, the dairiness, the femininity, and the correctness, and it's a strong enough udder. Is it the best udder in the class? I've made that point validly clear. No, it's not the strongest udder in the class. It's strong enough. It's attached enough. It has enough capacity and shape to it. It's not the prettiest, but it's darn close to being the first place udder. It's probably the second place udder in the class. And so when you combine that with all of this correctness in the general appearance, the dairiness, the body capacity, I feel she really needs to be up here as far as the most balanced picture of what these goats should be as far as structure and correctness. Particularly over 2, a little better texture to the mammary system, a little bit more width and extension to the forearm.
Okay.
It is 8:05 a.m. on Sunday, and the show is starting right now, but they start with the breeds that I'm not helping with, and I'm like 3 minutes down the road. I just ran and grabbed some breakfast and some coffee and some fuel. I was sitting at a half a tank, so I figured, you know what, let's fill up now before the box is loaded with goats, and that way when I go to leave I can just drive. Like, I don't have to stop anywhere unless I need to use the bathroom. A tank of fuel will easily get me all the way home, and then hopefully we can just make it a quick trip later, because the less time they're sitting in the back, the better, because right now they're all under shelter in barns and stuff, and it's raining outside. So I'm planning to leave this afternoon sometime. We will see how the day goes with the shows. So this would be the next 2 rings. So yesterday was like the national championships, and then today there's 2 different judges. So there's ring 1, ring 2 with different judges. It's just interesting to see how the same goat would stack up against the other goats with a different judge, because yes, there's breed types and there's breed qualities that you look for, but at the end of the day it also sometimes can come down to opinion, and that opinion can be different. Why is this not working? I just realized I'm sitting here and it's not even pumping gas. Please hang up nozzle. It's not even full. $11. What happened? Hey, really? It keeps tripping, so I'm just gonna stand out here and make sure that it actually fills up my tank. It's just kind of drizzling gross outside.
Here's our first introduction to one of the little doelings that I brought home. This little frosted ear and brown doeling. I brought her home, guys. I really, really did. This is her mama. Her name is Cassie. There we go. See? Her udder is gorgeous. She has a beautiful fore udder, nice and high in the rear, nice and wide, and nice, thin, slender teats. This is the dam to the buckling that I bought. Her name is Jada. Nice and high up in the escutcheon, nice and wide. She placed so much better this time. My daughter just ran into the house saying that all of my baby goats are currently out right now. So Jada actually placed just behind Cassie. I think this was 4th and 5th place, I believe. Anyways, I'm going to go outside and bring in my baby goats again. Oh, look at that, 3rd and 4th. Beautiful. Well, everybody, we are well on our way home. It's 5 hours and 15 minutes apparently until we get home. However, I'm going to stop, I think, in Whitecourt for some supper. It's almost 8 o'clock Southern Alberta time, which means that it's almost 7 o'clock my time. And yes, that does mean that I'm going to be getting home after midnight sometime. But that's not too bad, and at the moment I feel pretty good. I don't feel sleepy yet. However, that can all change when it starts to get dark outside. So I'm just trying to keep focused, listen to some good music, do some thinking about the goaties in the back. And I'm just excited to be home and get settled back in. And yeah, back to normal life in the non-goat crazy world. This weekend was a great example of just giving me kind of what this ideal goat looks like in person, because I've never seen the ideal goat or a champion goat who's won all of the shows and has the best breed type and best memory systems. And I will tell you, there was every, all across the spectrum of really, really high quality, well-bred does to maybe the lesser quality ones where they're not trash by any means, but they just didn't place very well in the show this weekend. And so it was just fascinating even just to watch that. And the one doe that actually was the dam of Winnie, the first freshener that I sold this spring, her dam did not really place that well in all 3 rings. And I think part of it was that she just wasn't making as much milk as maybe she could have. She wasn't walking real comfortably. But the one judge made the comment of, she looks completely different from one side to the other side. Which to me, does that speak of like an uneven goat perhaps? I don't know. I'm kind of glad that I didn't keep Winnie around, just because she had some things that were against her, right? And number one being that muzzle strength was not there. She had this big underbite, and she actually passed that on to her kid, Dum Dum, who was weathered and then sold, just because I just could not justify keeping him as a breeding buck, because he was likely going to pass on that underbite to many of his offspring, and so you just do not want to risk that at all. So I'm glad that I sold her, even though her udder was nice, but she just didn't have a nice personality. She was wild as all get out because she was dam raised, and so just things like that, where you make purchases and you make plans, you make breeding plans, but I have to be flexible to change, and to change course, or to even cut a line and cull animals if I have to. At the end of the day, yes, I love them, and they're my pets in some ways. They are also livestock, and to be part of a program that needs to benefit the overall breed as well as benefit my family and my farm. And if they don't do those things, then they don't earn a place to stay on the farm. And so they are working animals. But that being said, just because they don't work on my farm does not necessarily mean that they won't work in somebody else's herd. For example, Winnie, she did not work in my herd. She was not what I was looking for when I'm building my foundation of what I want to branch off of and branch from. She's not, if I didn't want 10 more does looking like her, then she doesn't get to stay. And so the lady I sold to her, actually down here in southern Alberta, I dropped her off my end of March trip when I made that trip for some doe kids and a buckling this spring. The lady who bought her absolutely loves her, and Winnie likes her too, and she's not crazy and not wild around her. And so she found a person who she clicked with, and she just, like, the owner loves milking her and loves the milk from her, and she's just tickled pink and absolutely loves her. And she's actually now gone on to purchase more registered Nubians because of her experience with Winnie. And so that's a perfect example of a doe that does not work well with my herd, but somebody else who wants to take the time to breed her to a good buck, or just to produce some family milkers, like, she's great for that. She definitely wasn't like, okay, let's butcher her, let's sell her for meat kind of quality. She just was not high enough quality to keep in my foundation program. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, is what are the does that I want in my herd for an extended period of time, or to build off of, because I need to have stepping stones. So the idea is that you have these does or these doelings, and then you build off of them. So their doe kids, hopefully they have doelings for me, they will carry my herd name prefix. And so then when I take those doe kids, once they grow up to be dry yearlings or 2-year-old first fresheners, or however that all works for them, when I lead them into the show ring, it's not going to be somebody else's herd name. It's going to be my stamp on it now. And then you get to start building your pedigree with your name. But if you're working yourself backwards just to put your name on something, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion. It's okay to keep those high quality foundation does, even if they're not in your name, until you can produce something that's better than their dam or their sire. And once you're seeing stuff that's improving upon the generation prior, then that's where you can start going, okay, this is the direction I want to go. And then those animals, hopefully that are better than their parents, have my name, my herd prefix on them. And so that's kind of, I think, every breeder's dream, every breeder's goal, is to be able to have on both sides of the pedigree your offspring, if you will. So it'd be your herd name as the dad, your herd name as the mom, sires and dams for you goat crazy people like myself. And so that's kind of what you work towards, so that you can look back in this pedigree and all of a sudden you can see, oh, my name is the grandparents, my name is the parents, and my name is now the kid, the offspring. And so that's kind of the vision, that's kind of the idea, what a lot of breeders have.
I'm driving with a bit of a light foot because there has been police cars everywhere. It's funny because on my Google Maps it like pops up police check or something. Police check up ahead. Is it still there or is it not there? And then you can like select if it's still there or not there anymore. So it's all like kind of in almost like a sting area where there was a few police cars within a couple kilometers of each other. I hate saying kilometers. I always think in miles, but Canada is in kilometers, so whatever. I've been munching on my chili from Wendy's, and why does like chain restaurants, you'd think that it would taste the same everywhere, but it does not. I was disappointed in the taste of it. I haven't even finished it all. Instead, I've been just munching on my fries. Kind of a lackluster supper, but I ate breakfast and then I didn't really eat until like 5. I'm pretty sure I entirely skipped lunch. I might have eaten like a handful of popcorn or something at some point. I honestly don't really remember, but I know I did not have a real lunch, so I was pretty hungry and thirsty by the time I started driving. I've still got some sunshine, a little bit of daylight left. It's 8:45 now, and yeah, I would suspect that it'll be dark by like 10 o'clock my time. So I probably will be driving in the dark for at least 2 hours, if not longer. We'll see. Hello, green semi-truck. Bye-bye. The sunshine is right in my eyes, but because I'm short, my visor does not actually help at all. So I just squint. I'm gonna stop and pull over in a little bit and just check on the critters in the back, because the front ones are pretty sheltered. They should have been fine, but I did go through a bit of rain. It's all dark and black behind me, but looking forward, it's just kind of the odd clouds. So that's that, everybody. Just keep on moseying home. We got 445 kilometers to go. It'll be pushing 12:30 a.m. probably, at least, by the time I get home. So stay alert, stay awake. Checking on my babies. You're a little bit scared. Hey? You're so curled up and happy. How are you? Oh. Did you get a little bit wet? Huh? A little bit chilly back there? I should check you a little bit better. Hi. Scary ride home. We need to throw the cover on for you. Let's do that. Lost some drive time, but at least he's comfy in there. We'll see if I don't lose my... I really hope that cover doesn't come off. That ratchet strap was done up incorrectly, so I can't even get it unloosened, and honestly I don't want to spend 15 minutes trying to get it undone. So we're just gonna drive, and if it gives us some problems, then I will pull over. But it hopefully will be okay. Yeah, he was a little bit chilly because he gets most of the wind back there. He'll be nice and warm with that cover on though.
Okay, I had to stop very shortly afterwards because that was not working. The ratchet strap didn't reach all the way across, and so I bungee strapped it to the other side, not tight enough. I just need to buy like a nice set of ratchet straps and just keep them in the truck. Me and ratchet straps don't really get along to begin with, so when I find one and I set it up properly and I know how it works, then I'm like, okay, right now I'm happy. But I had one, it's not a ratchet strap where it tightens, but it has a button where it tightens and loosens, and I just hand tightened it as best as I could across the top, and that appears to be working now. So hopefully I don't have any more issues with that. But I just didn't want him to freeze back there. And the goofy thing is that I didn't want to throw him in with any of the girls because he's already trying to breed. So I had to keep him separate because he was full on Bucky behavior trying to breed my yearling. So can't have that. I'm not ready for that. So it's just mind-boggling that he's so young and he's already just mentally there. So I really hope that I can use him this fall. Would be great. I just have to look at the does and look at him and think about his parents and figure out what kind of positive traits can he pass on and maybe improve the does with. It's just going to be a whole like sit-down process and see what I can figure out for breeding plans for this year. Could be kind of a crazy year for covering my does because I'm only gonna have, unless some of the babies make weight, I'm only gonna have 5 does kidding next spring, and I have right now 4 bucks. So we will see who I decide to use and who sits out this year. I just hit the under 3 hour mark, so 3 hours left and I should be home. I'm so excited. It's kind of that awkward dusk stage of the evening where it's still nice and bright, but as that sun keeps dropping lower, probably within the next half an hour, it's going to be that awkward stage of can't really see and your lights don't really help, and once it's dark and your lights are actually working, then it should be all right again. But hopefully we don't run into any wildlife because that would be catastrophic. Anyways, I will check in probably when I'm at home, unless there's something cool to report. We did it! 12:50 a.m. and I was up at 5:45 a.m. It's been a very long day. I'm gonna unload the goats. I'm not even gonna video. And then we'll just say hi to them tomorrow. Good night. Come on, babies! Where'd you go? Oh, they're all in the sunshine over there.
So it is a La Mancha.
So it is a La Mancha. Look.
They're all so friendly. This one's trying to eat my finger.
Oh, yes, that one bites a little bit.
Mom, this guy loves me. Aw. Sucking. Mom, she's sucking.
Yeah, but she could chomp your finger. What, you think it's milk time, don't you? Yeah, you do.
They're not dry, are they?
Well, she's been getting milk like once a day. Same with this one with frosted ears.
Aw. They're so cute though.
Hey, girly. She's like, you're not my person. What do you think of that silly thing? What happened to its ears? What happened to its ears?
No, Mom, they're actually really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super duper cute.
They are going to love playing with you.
Peeing.
Yeah, she is pretty, isn't she? So they've been calling her Leprechaun.
Yeah,
So pretty.
it's shining the sun all goldy color.
Oh, you are nice.
She's nice too, I agree.
Yeah. You kind of lost your voice from all the screaming you did this weekend, huh? She ate a leaf.
It's never yummy. Mommy, he likes me.
They're all girls in this one.
Is that one a girl?
That one's a girl too.